Western society tells you as a man that you are worthless. And even worse than worthless, you are dangerous. You are a worthless, dangerous individual. That is exactly what Western society tells you. That is the message behind many, many movies, laws, books, societal beliefs, and I'm talking modern days. And I personally, I can't forgive, like Western society for that. I really can't. I personally, this is too much for me. I won't accept it. I think it's bullshit. I think it's not true. I think that men are beautiful. Men have, there's so many characteristics that men have that women don't have. And they show up when you're raising children. They really see the difference between men and women. The reason why I'm talking about this is because I've been a bit quiet here recently making videos. Why have I been so quiet? The reason why I've been quiet is I've been busy. I've been busy because I've been playing with a kid and helping a kid. So what happened? I came back to Thailand, had no idea what I was going to do, wasn't sure. Just like I like basically created a Ronin Man in Thailand when I was here before, because I allowed myself, and I talked about this, to have the time to think, feel, test, try, do new things, to figure out what I wanted to do with my life at that point. And out of it came the Ronin Man, the whole concept, and which is now like a fucking huge community of cool guys. And it's amazing. I'm so grateful for this. I feel like, sometimes I honestly feel like the luckiest guy in the world, because I'm fulfilling what I want to do, my dream, my life, right? And it makes me happy. And I think you guys can feel it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not fucking around here. I'm not making a YouTube channel here. Like, I am doing what I love doing. And I love helping guys and working with guys. And it's just such a fucking pleasure. But it all came out of having the time and, just being in Thailand, not having the big bills. My rent at the time was $145. I lived in like a boarding house room with no window. Didn't matter, because my goal, it all depends on what my goal was. If I was trying to impress people, it would have been, take the rope, right? Take the rope, right? I'm in my 50s. I'm living in a room with no window, but there was a very good reason. I wanted to make sure that I could just totally peace out and discover, because I had done so many things in my life. I had started businesses. I'm not like a lot of guys who, I dream, I want to start my own business, I want to do. I had done a lot of my dreams. Like, I really had. I traveled, I had done so many things. And I was like, what do I want to do? Like what inside fucking me, what do I want to do? And it came out. And it was like a miracle, actually. So, went back home, fought for my daughter, fought, and all the way to the Supreme Court, filed a Supreme Court appeal, and I lost. And this was a pivotal moment for me. This really was. I didn't talk about it much at the time, and there was a reason, because it was a closed case. So I still can't talk about it. I still can't get into details. But I will tell you this, what the part that was key is I really realized, like an emotional understanding, that modern society hates men, Western society. Like, really. I mean, the court kidnapped my child from me and doesn't allow me to see my child. And I am not a criminal. I have no criminal record. I've never been even arrested. I've never had a restraining order. I have no criminal history. In fact, I have what's called, you can go to the police, it's called what is it called? Exemplary citizen? There's a outstanding. There's a thing called outstanding citizen, award, and I can get that actually. Because I don't have any traffic accidents. I have no traffic tickets. I've never been, like I said, no criminal history at all, right? So no violent history, nothing. So I, as a loving man, wanted to have a child. I wanted to raise a young person into this world with all the best wisdom I could give. And I wanted to share in that and to see somebody from my own blood, from my own gene line, what they would look like, how they would act, the challenges they have, and help them not only as a young person, but also as somebody, with the same traits as me and the same weaknesses and the same, only 50%, but still, that's a lot. And, I just, that's what I wanted. I really wanted to have a child. And I talked about it in the interview with Miggy about 5 years ago when I made a decision. I wanted to have a child. And I made that video public, and I was a bit worried. I didn't know how, back then MGTOW was pretty serious, and I didn't know how people react. But, it's surprising, actually. A lot of guys were very positive. Anyway, I went down that road, and I really tried to be a healthy, loving man who raises his own child. And, the courts would not let me. And I don't think it's just the court. I don't think so. I don't blame this solely on the judge. Obviously, I think it's a horrific, inhumane, irreversible decision that forever harmed my daughter's life. And I don't forgive anybody who was involved in that. And there's a reason why I don't forgive. Because it was harmful. It was very harmful to my child. It was terrible. And it will forever alter her life. She will not have the life she would have had if she had me. Because I am a protector. You know what I mean? I'm the guy, not only do I teach kids how to climb trees, but I'm there to catch them and to protect, to teach them how to do it, adventure safely. At every age they are. From, like 14 months, 15 months, 16 months. I watch those kids so closely, what they're capable of, what is the next challenge. It's like I'm like that coach who throws the baseball every time a little bit harder, a little bit weirder. So the kid every time has to reach out, has to go beyond their capacity and then get it. And I'm always looking for that sweet spot that's just 1 degree past where they are now, to allow them to have confidence, but also to be pushing themselves, to be learning and growing. And it's like, I am so good at that. And it was just, for society to take my child was a sin that I can't even, there's no words. There's no words. I mean, how it affected me as a person, it was beyond, gutting. It is the most difficult thing that I have ever dealt with. And today it will always be. But, now here's the good part. See, here's the thing about men. And I hope you're like this. I really do. Is that no matter what, you have the strongest desire. You have the yearning to do something great. And you try. And you give, right? And what happens is a criminal takes that away from you. A criminal protected by the courts, protected by the legal system. An evil criminal. That's what I consider the judge. And the lawyers. Everybody involved. Straight up criminals. Scumbags. Straight up scumbags. And they're worse than scumbags. Because, criminal is way worse than scumbags. I consider them criminals. Liars. Criminals. And I really hope that, I wish, and I don't believe it's true, but I wish that there was a thing, where you get what you give to the world. And I don't believe in it. I personally, you guys might know, I believe you have to do things yourself. You have to take care of things. I don't believe like you just throw it out there and then everybody just gets taken care of. I think sometimes you do have to do things yourself. You got to take responsibility. And other times you can't. So what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You have been fucked over, okay? And it's not just fucked over, but you have stared into the abyss of evil. And evil won. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but if you ever have, it is devastating. It is very, very difficult. How can you go? I mean, what can you do? You have, talk about excuses. You got excuses like right and left now. And you can spend your whole life where that's your thing. That's what you talk about. Now, I'm talking about this for a very specific reason, which I'm going to get to. And it involves taking care of a child in Thailand. And it involves total happiness and love and awesomeness. So, but I am just saying, like, I'm talking true evil. When you have been essentially dismantled, specifically with people that knew it was wrong. They knew they were lying, but their own hatred and bias led them down the dark path. And nothing got in the way. There was, I think, an attempt to destroy me in that courtroom. Very, very clearly. Now, where do you go from there? You know what I mean? Like, there is nothing good about that. Because it's one thing when people try to destroy you, but it's another thing when they win. And you look bad. And yet there's no reality. There's nothing. What do you do? Where do you go from that? What is your next step? I would say step one, okay, if you've ever gone through anything like this, is to survive. Okay, you need to think very, very simple. You got to think, okay, I need to live. And that might seem simple, but that is a very important step. You need to say, okay, I need to eat, I need to sleep. I need to grieve, I need to cry, I need to, whatever it is that you need to do. At this point, there's so much pain, okay, that you cannot think rational, okay? There's no longer do you have a rational being. The only thing you can do, what can you do? By focusing, why is it so important to focus on living? Like the things like simple, going to sleep, drinking water, eating food, exercising. Why is that so important? Is it because those are the things that matter? No. It's of course they matter, but that's not the point. The point is that now you can take your mind and focus your mind on something. Because your mind has every reason to basically disintegrate. Okay? To lose your mind and to go down this very self-destructive path. And there's nobody that would blame you. Okay, there is nobody who would blame you. In fact, part of you, when you've been through something like this, you actually think that if you don't do that, you're not showing how much you care. Like that's really how bad it gets. Is you realize if I even overcome this, you know what I mean? I'm showing that I was able to overcome it because you shouldn't be able to overcome it, and you can't. You never overcome a child being kidnapped. That's never gonna, I'm never gonna wake up and say, oh, I'm good with that. I'm never good with that. Okay? That is not something that I'm good with. And I would say, especially by the state, okay? And essentially by the US government, okay, at the end of the day. By the United States. So you focus on living. And the reason why is because that gives you something to do. Okay, I'm going to eat this food. I'm going to do this. And you don't even think anymore about anything else. You're not thinking about working. You're not thinking about what you're going to do here, there. You're not thinking about retirement. You're not thinking about travel. You're just like, okay, what do I need today? I need some food. What vitamins am I missing? You're just focused like a laser. Kind of like the same way the Japanese are so good at this. I talk about this in another episode. They're so good at, there'll be like a very dirty street, right? And there'll be one beautiful shrine. And they're very good at seeing what they want to see. And that has its good aspects of Japanese society. They'll just look at the temple and not at everything around. And that's a decision they're making to focus on that. Okay? And that's the same thing, is you need something to focus on. But once you get past that, okay, now time has passed, your heart, your emotional being, your inners, you're gutted, you're ruined, there's nothing good happening. Okay, even if you survive, you eat, you sleep, you do everything, you still feel like, what am I going to do next? And this is where I tell you, is to keep going. Always keep going. Never give up. Because what happens is that it seems impossible, but things change. But your inner being, okay, your needs, your true self never changes. Okay? So how does that work out? How did that work out with me? It's a beautiful way. You guys are going to love this story. So I came to Thailand. I had lost the battle for my daughter. And I was sitting here going, okay, I'm back in Thailand. But anybody, you guys who have kids, you know that once you have children, like, you just look at life differently. You just do. The child is number one. So, yeah, of course, you like to do things for yourself. You want to get in good shape, you want to make money, but nothing compares to children. So a lot of the things that you enjoy, as a single guy, that you say, okay, you feel very good about. Once you have a child, it's like things change. Like even the value of things that you thought would never change. You guys that have kids, you understand what I'm talking about. And the child just becomes the focus in your mind, right? So when I came back, even though I wasn't allowed to be with my child, I had become a father. You know what I mean? I had become a father. And my child was number one in my heart and in my mind. And so, when I did things for myself, it's a funny thing. Like, I still felt the same way as a father with his child. I was like, yeah, I want to do this thing. Yeah, I want to lose a little body fat. But it's like, really, who cares? Like, I care, of course, but there's more important fish to fry, right? So some of the more, surface pleasures didn't interest me when I came back to Thailand. So I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? What is my, it's like I just watched that movie Greyhound, where the ship in the middle of the ocean, right? And Tom Hanks is the captain, like he's setting he's setting the direction, right, of the ship all the time. And I thought, what is the new direction for my life? Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And how am I going to solve this problem? Essentially, an evil force tried to destroy me and took away the most valuable thing in my entire life, and there was nothing I could do about it. So what do I do? What do I do? And I really didn't know. And the most beautiful thing came out of it. I mean, really, the most beautiful thing. So I came back to Thailand, and I started doing yoga every morning, just very, very focused on yoga. So same thing as you focus on those things like the Japanese in the shrine. I just say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but yoga is something that is very, very, very important for an older guy especially. It makes you young again. It essentially does, hot yoga, if you do it properly. And you lose the creaks, you feel young, your spine is like young when you turn around, you hop out of bed, you know what I mean? You're flexible again, and the creaks go away, and you just feel good. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to focus on that because that's something I can do. Getting all big and lifting weights and stuff, that didn't interest me. But I'm interested in longevity now. Yeah, because I want to be there for whatever happens in the future, right? You can kind of get the hint of what I'm thinking, right? So longevity is number one for me right now. I want to eat the right foods. I want to take care of myself. I want to keep myself in a great position to keep growing and staying young for the long term, not for looks. Now, looks come along with it. That's a beautiful thing. But as I just said, I'm just going to, when I was home, I didn't have a place to do yoga. I didn't have, like a hot room that I need because I'm not a naturally flexible person. So anyway, I just started, now I got this hot room and it's free, by the way. It's just facing the sun in the morning. The sun naturally heats it up. It's a perfect temperature for hot yoga. It cost me $0. So I'm in the room right now. It's blazing hot. Just getting ready to start my yoga. And so I focus on that. It brings my blood pressure down. It brings my focus in. It gets that monkey mind chatter stopped in my mind. And also, of course, physically I feel great, right? So it achieves my long-term goals of longevity, right? So I've just been focused on that. Out of nowhere, my friend, I go over to his house. This is about 6 weeks ago. I go to my friend's house, and there's a little kid there. And I'm like, what the fuck? And they said, oh, her mother is a gambling addict, or, I don't want to, whatever. She's got tons of problems. And so, the kid has nothing, And I looked at the kid, and the poor kid was, you could tell, like, I'm no psychologist, but I can see when a kid has issues, right? And this kid, whenever something happened, there was two things I noticed right away. Is whenever the woman who was taking care of her, my friend's girlfriend, whenever she would go behind a door, just like go in the bathroom, the kid would start to, would just go crazy. And I know from my study, when I was fighting for my daughter, I did a lot of study on child development. And I realized that the child at that age, at the time 15 months, they don't realize that when you disappear, that you still exist. And that's why they like hide and seek, is because they think you're gone forever. And then you come back, and they're like, oh, he's back. And so their mind can't understand that you are behind a tree. Like their mind actually thinks you're gone. And they're like, oh no, and then, oh, you're back. And so it's like, oh, good. And so this child was in this state, 15 months, and, obviously had lost her mother and father, and she was just totally abandoned, like it was a terrible situation for this child. It was a horrifying, and so the child, the little girl, would start to slam her head against the wooden floor, or hit herself in the face with her own fists, or slam her head against a wall. And I had never seen a child do that, like that young. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I realized this kid really needs help. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is like, because I know what happens when you are self-destructive in your life as an adult. Like I know if it doesn't stop, if you don't get that handled, believe me, I know from personal experience. I'll talk about it in another video, but sometime in the future. But I know exactly what happens when you have that attitude. And so I just thought, okay, what can I do today? So it was one day. It was like a month ago or whatever, 6 weeks ago, so maybe 8 weeks ago now. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I realized the child hadn't slept. The child was in a new house, parents gone, everything was new, didn't know the people the kid was with, didn't know me. The kid was just absolutely frantically crying, and just everything was terrible that day. And I thought, you know what? There's one thing I'm very good at, and that's calming people down. Just calming people down. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to help this child sleep. I'm just going to stay here as long as it takes, And when the moment is right, I'm going to cuddle the child and allow that child to rest. And that's what I did. I just looked around, I waited, and then there was a moment when the girl was gone, she was out buying food for the kid, or clothes or something, and it was me and my friend, and the child yawned. And I could just see she had been up all day. It was about 6 o'clock at night. She hadn't had her nap. She was in a frantic state all day. And she finally got to this state where, like her little body was just giving out, too tired. So I got her, and I had never done this before. I've helped take care of my nieces and other people, my friends' kids, but usually the mother's always in there to step in. But this was a situation where there was no one. It was me. My friend didn't know anything about kids and didn't know what the fuck he was doing. And he was scared, right? And like literally, he didn't know what to do. It was the first day. Like, he didn't know what to do. And he had never been around kids before. And he looked at me and he saw the kid's reaction to me. And he's like, holy shit. He goes, you're good with kids. Stay here today. Stay here. So I did. I just stayed there. And then it was funny because at the same time as the U.S., I'm just going to say the U.S. government kidnapped my child. In other parts of the world, not only am I appreciated, I'm needed. And it's a beautiful thing. It was like a mind fuck for me because, like 1 minute I'm being lied about. My kid is being kidnapped and having her life damaged forever. And I'm being treated like a worthless scumbag. While I'm trying to love my kid, I mean the mind F is just beyond belief. Like, it's just like sometimes the craziness happening in the West is really difficult to. If you told people in the 1800s what was going to happen, today they just wouldn't believe you. They'd just be like, "That's no way. That's not going to happen." But that's what's happening, And so here I am on the exact opposite of the spectrum. My friend, who's an awesome guy, had no idea what to do with the kid, and he was like, "You take the kid. You know what you're doing. I can see it." Because the kid was smiling. I played when I first got there. The kid didn't know what to do when I walked in. The first thing I did is I thought, okay, I need something this kid's definitely going to like to start this day off right. And I played Baby Shark, the song Baby Shark. And that was the perfect thing. I could see the look on the kid's face. The kid shook his head shook her head a bunch of times. And then she just looked at me and started like moving around to the music. And I thought, okay, that was it. Don't overuse that song. You found something, and everybody that was there. This is before the girl left. The girl was there. My friend was there. This is when I first walked in the room that day. They looked at me like, "Whoa, you like put the kid in a good mood right off the bat." And I was like, and they were like, "What's that song?" And I'm like, "No, it wasn't the song. It was the fact that it's the first time. It was one time." Because they didn't like. Everybody was kind of like looking to me to teach, and I'm like, "No, you need to do something. Kids are so smart. If you rely on any one thing, they're just going to quickly like lose you. You got to constantly, it's the biggest challenge you'll ever have is taking care of a kid. It is like the biggest challenge." And so I didn't want to I didn't want to teach them the wrong lesson. So anyway, but the kid looked at me like as a good force. So he's running around, kid's running around, she's running around that day. And of course, she's frantic, her mother's gone, she's slamming her, it was not a great day. But I had made a good impression, and that kid trusted me more than her other options. She was in a tough state, and I was like, I could appreciate that. I also, I can relate. I understand. So I saw the kid yawn. It's about 6 o'clock. Kid hasn't slept all day, and the kid's used like 10 times more energy than any kid should ever use in a day. And I just took her. I just cuddled her, and I laid back in this like relaxing sofa that the electric ones that go back, and she was like moving and trying to get out, but I just held her there, like just one strong hand kind of on her back, and then before I knew it, like within a minute, she like passed out. She fell asleep. She just fell asleep, like so deep. When a kid, have you ever seen a kid sleep, like a little infant? They sleep with their arms and legs in the weirdest positions. And they completely, like, rest is just not, they know how to rest. How to let go, kids do. And so the kid, I could see her little leg like sticking out in a weird angle, but it wasn't dangerous. And I realized that if I even move my arms a little bit, I might wake her up. And I thought, this kid needs to sleep. And I just sat there. I just sat there soothing her, holding her. I didn't move. Of course, I needed to go to the bathroom and drink water and stand up. And, I had my needs, but those needs, they were nothing. I was going to sit there until that kid was done sleeping. And I did. And it was like that moment, the kid bonded with me, And when the kid woke up, she just kind of looked at me. And then the girl who's playing the role of mother now took her away, and they went to sleep, and I went home. And I was like, oh shit, this is a good kid. I could tell. This is a good kid. So I left, and I came back the next day. My friend was surprised because I don't usually come over every day, and I was back. And, they had no idea how much, I was already in love with that kid. They had no idea because, people see me from the outside, a single guy, not married. They have no idea how much love I have. They don't know. People have no fucking idea. They think, oh, he must be this, he must be that. And just, like he's interested in other things. But actually, for me, I love kids. I love helping kids. I love teaching. I like teaching adults. I like helping people in trouble. I am the fucking best person when someone's about to take the rope. Like, I am like the best talker downer that I know. It's a gift. It's purely a gift. I'll just say a gift from God, right? Nature. And I just have a way. And maybe it's because of my own, could be genetic, could be my viewpoint, could be whatever, but I am extremely good, and I know there's a lot of people that are alive today that wouldn't be if it wasn't for me. And I know that because people call me and tell me, So I have this gift, and I know it. And it doesn't, obviously doesn't come in handy very often, but when it does, pretty handy. And it's the same thing when people are in serious, very, very serious trouble, whether it's their own making, like a drug addict or somebody on the run or somebody who's been, whatever it is, disease or whatever. I somehow am able to somehow connect with them and have a good effect. So, but people don't know that when they see me. How the fuck? People don't know, right? Because I'm like having fun and making jokes. Sometimes I make off-color jokes. You can't, you wouldn't guess, really. Partly because of the way people look at men. But anyway, so I'm back the next day. So I'm like there, the kid's like getting changed in the other room, and I don't think my friend's girlfriend really appreciated that I was only there if there was anything I could do for that kid. That was the only reason why I was there. And she didn't really appreciate that. But whenever, the kid would be free, I'd be there playing with the kid on the floor, looking for toys. I learned how to make toys out of things where there's no toys because the house had zero toys. There was no toys in the house. And it was not a kid-friendly house. And so I looked on the internet, I put on my Facebook, I got all the best advice I could, and we started playing with things in the house. Now the kid was 15 months, and at that age, they're very simple. They like to do, like for example, pour water into something, and then pour water back into the other thing, pour water back into that thing, pour water into this, put the pan inside the other pan that's smaller, then the next one, stack them up, take them apart, knock them over, put them, stack them back up. Take the Sparklets bottle, put it on its side, roll it around, right? Get down like a horse and use your head to push the empty sparklets bottle around, right? Kind of like things that were in the house, putting up pillows, making stacks of pillows. What else? Oh yeah, we discovered Tupperware. Playing with Tupperware. Oh, she loved Tupperware, and she could wing that thing around the room, and it didn't matter because it's very lightweight and everything. And I'm like learning so much stuff because I was looked at as a person. I was looked at as a trustworthy person who knew kids. That's the way I was looked at in that house. And it was so healing to me. It really was. Because I am. That's the thing. My heart is like huge for kids. Huge. Always has been. I just have this thing about protecting. Someday I'll talk about my protection things I've done. It's just something I'm born with. It's not something I do. Like you might be tall, you just have this, or you're born, your parents have money, you have money. There's certain things you're just born with. That protection thing, it's totally built into me. It's not something I earned. Other things I did, I earned, right? But that protection thing is just built in, fucking from the factory on my psyche and mind. So here I was. I kept going over to the kid's house every day. I go back, play. And slowly, my friend's girlfriend started to realize, oh, okay, like against all odds, this guy is like very helpful and loving to this kid. And she needs to go to the bathroom. I'm like watching the kid to make sure the kid doesn't bust in there, you know what I mean? Or she needs to go shopping. I can keep the kid entertained until she comes back, right? And so anyway, we're going down this road. And then one day, it was I don't know how far it was along, maybe 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks. The kid just looked at me. And it was so funny. It was like she could read my mind and I could read her mind. And she just stood up, she went over to the door, and she stuck out her hand in my direction. And I knew exactly what she meant. She meant, take me somewhere. And I was like, no, she can't mean that. She can't be that smart. She can't be she's never done this before to anybody. I've never seen her do it. And I'm like, maybe she did, I don't know, but I never saw it. So anyway, she just looks at me and she just puts her hand out. And then I was like, I walked over to her and she grabbed my hand. And then she looked towards the door in her shoes. And she's like, basically, take me somewhere. So I asked my friend, and again, this was so fucking healing to me. Because I'm trusted. And I'm trustworthy. And when you're treated like a criminal, it just is so difficult. It's so not right. It's not right for you. It's not right for kids. It's not right for them. It's really a travesty. It's all around. It's a terrible thing for everybody. And so here I am getting trusted. And so my friend's girlfriend's like, yeah, she wants you to take her downstairs. So I was like, that's what I thought. So I grabbed her hand, walked outside, and until that moment, you guys, you can't imagine, she was very careful about everything new, right? All of a sudden, she's totally fine with walking with only me down a dark hallway with no lights hardly to an elevator, and it's only me and her, and it's 42 floors, so we go up and down. It takes a long time, and she's just sitting there, looking at me. I'm holding her. She's just looking at me. She's all happy, and we get downstairs, and I took her, and we walked around, and it was her first time, or one of her first times in the playground, because apparently the rumor is that her mother just locked her in a room and went gambling. So she never had any interaction with other children or playgrounds. In Thailand, you don't have the playgrounds you have in America. But this apartment building my friend lives in is a high-end place with beautiful, beautiful, beautiful children's toys and slides and the rubberized floor, really nice. Very, very excellent for children. In fact, any of the expats that have children end up moving into this complex because it's so good for kids. The pool is so good. It's a big, big children's pool. There's 2 children's pools. And it's just a perfect place for kids. And so a lot of people have maids taking care of the kids. So anyway, when I go downstairs, I'm one of the only quote unquote parents. I'm not a parent, but I'm the only one who's not a paid person. I'm actually there because I want to be. I'm not paid to take care of the kid. I'm just down there. And so the first day we just kind of walked around. She didn't even understand how to play. Like, she didn't even know what any of the toys. She didn't know the slide. She didn't just walk right by it. And so we played with rocks. We played with bugs. We looked for leaves. We did everything we could do. And then finally I found somebody. I heard some Indian woman had left a cup of rice, like not uncooked rice. And there was 2 cups. And so I remembered pouring into something. So that's what we did. We poured the rice into the 1 cup, out of the other cup, into the other cup. We just over and over and over. And she was very excited about it. We did that till I felt like, okay, this is good. We've done good, and it's time for her to. I could sense she was kind of ready to go back. So I picked her up, took her back in the house, and we built a bond. We built a trust with her and also with me. And so then that's what happened. Then I go back, and every day got better and better. And now I take her to the kinder. I take her down to the other kindergarten kids. We play. She knows that, like, they tell her the names and everything. And this kid is so, has been through so much. She's 16 months. She still doesn't talk. So she's definitely, rehabilitating from some very terrible situation. Let's just put it that way. But she's coming. Now she's starting to baby talk a lot. And she says a couple words. She knows how to say up. She wants me to pick her up. And she knows how to say no. What does she know? She knows mama, she knows up, and she knows no. I'll say anything. I don't think anything else. And 16 months, right? Now that's partly because her mom is Thai, and now I'm speaking English to her. So that is another reason why verbal development slows down, is because the child's brain, a lot of parents worry about this, but actually it's not anything to worry about. The child's brain is learning 2 languages at once. And so it takes longer to speak. But what happens is the kid becomes bilingual from the beginning, right? And that's a beautiful thing. So sometimes the hard way is the better way, in my opinion. So anyway, and I don't have a choice because I don't speak fluent Thai, so I can't. I can hardly say her name. Her name is hard to say. So I learned her name. I can say her name now. And I go over there every day. And like, we've done more and more things, and it's more and more exciting. And I'm going to put in some of the clips we made just the other day. I mean, I could put in 1 million clips because I've done so much stuff with her now. I've taught her how to be in the pool, how to swim, how to go. She's just learning how to go underwater. She doesn't quite get it yet. She'll kind of breathe in too much water. But she's getting there. She's understanding the water's not super scary, because I'm a water guy, so I'm going to teach her water right away. I want her to be safe in the water. I don't want her to be like these other kids where they have 400 floaties on her. She doesn't need any of that. Women, kids do not need all this bullshit. Kids can learn shit, and they get confidence when they do, right? I've taught many children how to swim, and many adults too. So right now, that's what I do. I go over there every day. The Japan Summit's coming up, but honestly, if I could have planned it differently, I don't know if I would have gone, because I'm just going to miss the kid so much. I really am going to miss the kid. I'm going to miss all the things that she learns. And so, basically I want to end on this is like, I kind of realize now so many things. One is that I'm so happy. I am so fucking happy. Like, I have something to do, something that I'm needed, something where I'm trusted and loved. As a man, my skills. Because my friend's girlfriend is quite cool, actually, and she knows that, women are just not that playful. Like, men are good comedians. Part of father's kind of like role is being playful, right? And pushing that child's boundaries, hanging them upside down, getting them to do the challenges that they're just quite ready, just on the cusp. It's pushing them a little bit. Women protect in the sense that let's make sure everybody's safe, everybody has food, this and that. And the father's role, the male role, one of them, is to push and to get that child to always be pushing and learning and going forward, right? Taking chances, but again, the healthy male role is you're giving her things that are just outside of her ability. Just one little step beyond what she did before. You're constantly giving that. And that keeps her little mind very attentive, because you're not just doing the same thing to show other people anything. Your total focus, like those Japanese people, is on that child and where it's at and what it's learned. And you're like, okay, she already knows that. So now let's try this new thing. And then you come back and you say, okay, the next day, let's make sure she still knows that today, right? And then you're testing. Because sometimes you do have to repeat things, right? So you're repeating, you're testing, you're pushing. And, and also to the thing that the kid was missing the most. There's no doubt about it. The thing that kid was missing the most was love. And I was told that. And in fact, the doctor who examined the child said if that child would have stayed with that mother, the child would die. That's actually what a Thai doctors are not, they don't say this kind of stuff very easily. This kid was in serious danger. So that's like the double whammy of happiness that I get, is that I can be part of something, of saving this kid's life and saving this kid's future. And one thing I'm very good at, and I'm always just, one thing girls, they love about me, is I am a cuddler. I am a fucking cuddler. I'll cuddle with all of them. Even if I have a lot of girls, I am a cuddler. I'm very sensitive, and I am very affectionate, right? That's one thing that tricks people, because I'm also, when I was younger, let's say in my 20s, I was a real player, but I was still affectionate because I'm a human with everybody, right? So, it's kind of like you have a dog and you're very good with that dog, and you might be very good with another dog and another dog. You may go to the dog park. You're good with all the dogs. And that brings me to another point, is that people that are good at pickup, people that are good with girls, tend to be good with animals, tend to be good with children. Because it's the same thing. It's showing affection, it's teasing, it's testing, it's pushing the boundaries, it's playfulness with another living thing. And that is really powerful. Really, really powerful. You can learn to improve your ability to get laid by focusing on these things I'm talking about. Maybe in Japan I'll do an episode with Raf, because we did it on Black Mail. We talked about this and it worked. And I want to tie these things in together so that you can learn something without even studying it, right? Because you're getting the basic human skills that just happen to work for other things, right? The things that make us happy too. Because I think as men, when we connect, when we do meaningful things, when we help, when we appreciate that playful side of a man, it's fun for us. I think that's what people totally didn't understand about the Bud Light commercials, the old ones. The Real Men of Genius and the What's Up and everything. They're like, oh, that was dumb and fratty and stupid and out of date. But it wasn't. What it was is man's playfulness. Men are fucking playful. We are. And that's why kids are great. Kids love their uncle. Kids love their fucking uncle. And Uncle Paul loves being fucking Uncle Paul, because the kid pulls me into a better me, if that makes sense. The pureness of that kid and my love for that kid demolishes anything else. And it allows me, not only do I appreciate it, it's enjoyable, I learn and all that, but it allows me to set the course on my own life and make better decisions, because I care more about myself, if that makes any sense. Because I need, that's something I need to do so that I can be there for the children, right? I need to be there. I need to make the best decisions for myself in order to continue doing the good work that I'm doing at the time, right? So it makes me serious about my future too. I look at that kid and I think, okay, the kid's fucking 16 months old. I'm 40, I'm 50, sorry, I'm 58, right? I want to be there for this kid in the future, right? And there's even a chance I could adopt this kid, believe it or not. And I'm going to say this last, as anybody who's listened to the end. If you have any toys, nice clothes that you have from your children, or you have somehow access to, please send them over, because this kid needs a lot of stuff. We don't have much stuff for this kid, And here in Thailand, buying toys it's not as good as back home. So especially if anybody has any good toys for kids that your kids have already outgrown, right? Or you have access to great toys for kids. The good ones, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? The kids, not the ones where you press one button and all the lights go on and the kid doesn't learn anything. No, man, those aren't the kid toys I like. I grew up in old school, man. I grew up in a trailer park. And we played with fucking wooden blocks, And that's partly why I believe why I am so able to overcome shit when I don't have everything I need and to use my imagination is because the way I was raised. And I put that directly on my mother. My mother was very good at this. She is like a genius with kids at giving them basic things and making games. My mother, I'll say this, so many people, they say the dumbest things on the internet. It's like, oh, MGTOW hate their most. That is such bullshit. Like, how can anybody even say that? Without even knowing anybody personally, right? It's like, how do you, it's just insanity. But I'll tell you this, my mom she's an artist, and she is very good at making something out of nothing, cooking when there's nothing in the house, making fun out of mud, making fun out of rocks, making fun out of talking, making fun out of a tree. Now, why is she good at that? It's because of a tragic upbringing. She was, in a way, her mother was psychopathic. It wasn't her real mother. Her mother, actually, I won't get into it, but it's too personal. But a terrible tragedy happened, and she ended up being raised by a terrible person. And that house she lived in was 6 miles away from a neighbor in northern Minnesota. So there was no neighbor, there was no other kids to play with, and she was alone. So she would go into the forest by herself with no dolls, very few toys, and she would make believe with logs and rocks, and she would every day. She had no other kids when she was little. It was just her dad left to go work to make money in Guam. She had her grandmother across the street, and she was alone. And now that could have been the end, right? That could have been just a terrible, like a Unabomber type person. But she, was forced to reach down deep inside herself and realize, and I think she did, is that you don't need anything. Your imagination and the world is all you need to have a fantastic life. You can make something out of nothing. No matter where you're at in your life, you can do it. All right, hope this has been helpful.